I am proud to say that as I am recording this, I am now 644 days without any nicotine in my system and have transformed my relationship with smoking weed to where I now use it as a tool and not as a crutch. This is my story. Yo, Des from the future here. Just wanted to jump in here real quick because this is a pretty long video going over the last decade of my life. But if you clicked on this video because you're currently looking to quit your addiction to either cannabis or nicotine, I am gearing up to run my very first cohort under my company Clarity Academy, where I help people just like you through your first month of overcoming whatever addiction that you currently have. And we'll be doing that through three main methods. Firstly, I'll be teaching you how addiction actually works within your body, both mentally and biologically, so you can stop blaming yourself. I'll secondly teach you how you can utilize nervous system management tools like meditation and breath work to help you manage your nervous system for the rest of your life. And thirdly, you'll be a part of a private support group of people that are just as committed as you to finally overcome their addiction. Within the course, there are two different paths you can take, either quitting for good or learning how to rebuild your relationship to a substance, so that way you too can use it as a tool and not as a crutch. So if that interests you at all, you can learn more and join the waitlist inside the link in the description below. But all right, back to the video. I started smoking weed in high school. At the time, I was a high-functioning student athlete who also had a full schedule of AP classes. My first few experiences were with my older brother and his friends the summer before my senior year. And then at the beginning of that senior year, I made a new friend in my first period AP physics class. We ended up both having our second period off, and since our classes were like 99 minutes, and he lived right next to our school, we would just go back to his place, smoke, and play Rocket League and chill. My entire senior year of high school, we pretty much became inseparable, and we both jumped into weed addiction together for our own reasons. Very quickly, I started making it a daily habit to smoke before school, during my off periods or before lunch, after school before practice, and to meet up with that same homie after practice in this random parking lot that we would meet up in and smoke before we both went home. And essentially from then on, weed became my favorite coping mechanism to help me get through the stress of life at home, at school, and just in life in general. At the time, I figured it didn't slow me down too much in school. I still played club soccer at a high level. And all that to say, I knew it was a crutch, but I was one of those people who called myself a high-functioning stoner. Shout out to all my high-functioning stoners out there. Obviously, my performance in life in general wasn't necessarily improved by smoking every day, but you couldn't tell me that at the time, mostly because I was honestly hiding under so many years of unresolved emotional pain that I had no idea how to deal with. And to be honest, it was helping in a certain way. I mean, it provided me community, something to look forward to in my day, and a way to numb all that pain that I, again, had no other solutions for dealing with at the time. Weed became my trusted sidekick for almost 10 more years of my life, and I continued smoking weed even when I went to college, and even though in my sophomore year I got randomly selected to do one of those good old drug tests, which I failed. But luckily I wasn't kicked off my college team. I just quit for a few months until I got tested again and was right back to regularly scheduled programming. That same year, I got a girlfriend, and I started a brand design agency / clothing brand with one of my homies that I had met at school. Our goal was to build a service-based business, to build ownership and wealth, and also build a brand that inspired our generation to pursue greatness in their own unique passion and skill set, which is honestly something that I still want to do. So adding both the responsibility of a girlfriend and another full-time venture to my plate only added more stress in my life to perform. My girlfriend was on the women's soccer team, and she really didn't approve of my weed habit. But of course, I didn't let that stop me. I would simply just hide it from her the best that I could by just going over to my homie's room after she went to sleep and smoking and chilling with him. But just like I was hiding it from everyone else other than my friends. The stress of all of that led me to my next addiction, which was vaping, aka nicotine. My homie's roommate at the time was a Juul fiend at the highest level, and with all the time I spent in his room working on our business, I started hitting his Juul here and there, and eventually I just decided to start buying my own, which was just the next logical step. So now I had two crutches to try and hold myself up. And later in that year, after my relationship fell apart due to my own mistakes, I made a promise to myself that I would work as hard as I could to become a better person in every aspect of my life. I knew that one day, eventually, I would move on from addiction, but I knew I still wasn't ready at the time. Mostly because I still didn't know how to handle life without daily substance use. However, at the time I got inspired to start looking for new information that was contrary to the way I was raised and the beliefs I had held at the time. I started heavily reading philosophy books and watching YouTube videos to learn about psychology and self-awareness, where I found teachers like Alan Watts, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and others that really taught me about not only my inherent divinity, but also the power of the mind. Ultimately, I was seeking clarity and purpose in my life. Now, even though I had started doing meditation on a pretty much daily basis and becoming more aware of the person I was being, really all it did was illuminate for me how long I had been shoving down the unresolved pain that was in my body. I became aware of that, and instead of addressing it then, I put myself under more and more pressure to make my business work, and told myself that once I had become successful and self-sufficient, then I would make space in my life to heal. And so I put my head down and ignored it for even longer. My business partner and I ran our company for about 5 more years after that. In that time, I vainly attempted to quit vaping, only motivated by the shame that I felt from not being able to put it down. I couldn't tell you how many times I would wake up with a little bit of motivation to quit, throw all my vapes away that I had in my house, and then within 3 to 6 hours, would either be digging them out of the trash or driving over to the vape store. I essentially did the same thing within my business as well. Within our company, I was responsible for pretty much all the operations, so I would do outreach to try and find new clients. I would create, edit, and post all of our content across multiple channels, including a podcast that we were doing. I was doing all the design of the logos and the websites or whatever else our clients needed at the time. And at least 3 times per year, on average, I would hit a wall and burn out. I'd have this big emotional fallout and then find myself in a state of temporary depression because, yeah, we had clients, but we were never doing 10K a month like all the online gurus told us was so easy to get. And so I'd find myself tired, defeated, and simply out of motivation. And then I would quickly push all of it down again because I told myself years before that I wasn't going to address my pain until I became successful and self-sufficient. But that didn't mean that I stopped doing my spiritual work. I was still committed to becoming aware of that which was holding me back from showing up in the world as my true self and pursuing that which I was passionate about. Over time, it became clear that I just wasn't as passionate about doing my design agency as I needed to be in order to make it as successful as I wanted it to be. It just started becoming a means to an end and not something I wanted to become quote-unquote great at, because greatness was always the mission from the jump. And because of that, it was clear to me that I was scared to be authentic. And because I was doing the work spiritually, I became more passionate about the process of healing and transformation than I was about designing logos and websites. And it showed. I would make plans to put out weekly content for my business, but would always fall short due to a lack of passion and motivation to keep showing up for it. And so I never really found a consistent rhythm with posting the content or anything that I had basically put on my plate, which only further fed the feelings of shame and unworthiness that I was going through. So after all that time trying to white knuckle my way to success, one day I finally burnt out for the last time. That week after, I didn't really waste any time, and I listened to my inner guidance, and I walked away from the company with nothing. No ownership, stake, no money, nothing. But I had been learning from all the people I had been listening to that the answers that I was looking for existed in the unknown. And I finally had built up the courage to step into the unknown, as scary as it was. So, for the next year, I was in my real dark night of the soul. Luckily, I had moved home, and so I had my mom who seriously held me down as I started doing the work, stripping back the layers to the identity I had built up to that point. Turns out that my idea that I would be able to wait until I was successful and self-sufficient to finally address all the unresolved pain from my past was false, and I was now free to take a good look at all of it. So by grace of the universe, I was introduced to breathwork from a podcast that I had used to watch regularly, and I found some free breathwork videos on YouTube that I had started to add into my daily routine. And the combination of meditation, daily exercise, and breathwork changed everything for me. I had already been meditating for years, and it brought me all the benefits that meditation brings, which, if I were to try to put it into words, it gave me an awareness of my identity as an observer and not just a personality. But the breathwork had a unique way of giving me no other choice but to address all the unresolved pain and years of neglected stress that I had sitting within my body. And it just brought it all to the surface to be seen for what it was. I've had literally dozens of breathwork sessions where I just break out into just uncontrollable tears, or my body would just uncontrollably shake and convulse, or both at the same time. Which, I'll be honest, it scared me at first. I didn't know that this was part of the process, but over time I understood it as the necessary work that I needed to be doing to release all of this unresolved trauma sitting deep in the depths of my body. It wasn't an easy process, but man, was it worth it. And it gave me a new sense of clarity. To where the next push of motivation I got to finally quit vaping, I finally decided that this time would be different. And so I started doing different things. I started doing research on how addiction actually works in the body. I read Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Smoking, which I highly recommend. And within a few weeks, I put all my vapes in my house in a bag. I downloaded this app called Escape the Vape to help me track my progress, and I quit cold turkey and never looked back. The weird part was, because I had the combination of better understanding and had done the work of addressing my pain through breathwork and meditation, quitting nicotine cold turkey was actually much easier than I expected. Turned out to be only just a few days of mild withdrawal symptoms and finding myself reaching in my pocket and realizing there was no vape there and telling myself basically that it was something that we just didn't do anymore. But other than that, it wasn't nearly as bad as my other quit attempts. And I kept my bag of vapes. I wrote poison on it, and I nailed it to my wall as a trophy. It was proof to me that I was willing to choose myself over anything. And so boom, just like that, nicotine was out of the picture, and I've never even thought of looking back. It gave me the trust and confidence back in myself that I was missing after years of just simple self-sabotage and not being a man of my word. I started doing a new workout program and built my body from this to this. I'd always been in shape, but I'd never worked out this hard before. Anyways, I also learned how to start cutting my own hair, a valuable skill that I still use today. And honestly, I haven't been back to the barber in like 5 years, which has been dope. I also got into golf, which was a huge gift. More than just scratching my itch of doing something athletic, it helped me overcome my self-imposed disease of perfectionism and replaced it with self-forgiveness. It gave me quality time with myself, nature, and helped me build new relationships and reconnect with old friends. And lastly, it was a great source of meditation, where it forced me to get out of my thinking mind and just be in the present moment. I finally started just finding small ways to rebuild my self-discipline and self-confidence. But the work still wasn't done. The week after I left my company, I actually came across a video from a creator called Dan Coe and was super inspired by the idea of a one-person business and a value creator. Those ideas just were like, yes. The idea of someone who could just be a niche of one and offered their unique set of skills and beliefs to the creator economy and was able to build an audience based on the strength of their own ideas mixed with their experience that they were willing to help others with. And so I started the cycle again. I followed Dan's advice and started a Twitter account, a newsletter, and rebuilt my service business all around what I knew how to offer to the market already, which was brand design. I tried to carve out my own little niche in personal brand design, but I actually found myself more inspired to write about self-actualization and transformation. My newsletter acted as my public journal, where I'd write about my big realizations I had come to on my own spiritual journey, and I found myself hosting spaces where we talk about the intersection between entrepreneurship and spirituality, and I had the pleasure of meeting a lot of other people that were interested in the same things as me. And ended up running into the same problems I had with my first business. The truth was, I didn't have enough confidence to help people in the world of healing and transformation, so I just went right back to what I knew. Long story short, that didn't work for me at all. And I spent a whole year wrestling with myself on what was going to be my unique way or my unique position. How was I going to offer my gifts and my voice to the world was my main direction. And I went around telling myself and those around me that I was quote unquote still figuring out my purpose when I knew damn well that I wanted to help people heal just like I had. And not to mention that I was still smoking weed from sunup to sundown, so the imposter syndrome weighed heavy on my thought process. I would constantly say to myself, how are you going to help people heal and transform when you're too scared to do it for yourself? And honestly, there was a lot of truth in that. And so I waited and I kept doing my breath work, my meditations, and after a few months, I finally took the leap to quit smoking weed. I quit smoking for the first time, and man, it was rough. For about 3 to 5 days, I was cooped up in my house, under multiple blankets, having constant cold sweats, chest pains, migraines. I didn't feel like eating for 3 days. I don't think I ate a thing for multiple days. And it's honestly something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, but through that process, I never wavered, and I made it to the other side successfully. I took my bong, and I wrote, "No more hiding" on it, and I placed it next to my bag of vapes, and since then, they have stayed in my life as trophies, as proof that not only was I capable of doing hard things, or things I thought were impossible to my mind at the time, but that I would never give up on myself. And from that point, life literally opened up for me. I finally had gotten a job, which seriously helped the stress I had from all of the years I spent being a broke entrepreneur, telling myself that I didn't need a job because my business deserved all my attention. Don't do that. And then about a month later, I met a girl who I quickly realized was the girl I had been searching for all along, and have since been blessed to experience the healthiest and happiest relationship I could have ever asked for. And now, with a partner in my life, I was more motivated than ever to start my new business and get into the world of healing and transformation that I always wanted to, and I was so excited to share it with the world. Initially, I wanted to just start helping people with quitting vaping, and so I named my company Shake the Vape, and I got started working on the digital course that I was going to use as my service in this one-person business that I was building. However, through that process of working on my new business venture, turned out that my relationship with weed wasn't over. I had successfully quit for around 4 months, and honestly, I was feeling great. Better than ever, honestly. But then I chose to smoke again, thinking everything was cool. I can smoke once again, you know. It's a random day. My brother had one of his friends in town, and I ended up smoking with him. And because I had not created new programs in my mind that were stronger than my old addicted programs, that one time smoking sent me right back to my old habits. And not much longer after that, I was right back to where I was before, smoking from sunup to sundown, constantly hiding it at work, and feeling good for a bit, and then drowning in feelings of shame and feeling like I was letting myself down and self-sabotaging, because honestly, I was. I stopped working on my course because, again, I felt like an imposter, because who was I to help people quit addiction to nicotine if I was still addicted to cannabis? And it just didn't feel right to me, because to me, like, addiction is addiction, no matter what it's to. And so I had to get right back to working on myself again. Luckily, this time weed addiction was only around for a few months before I committed to quitting again. And thank the universe that it was so much easier the second time. It wasn't so shocking to my system. And even though the withdrawals still suck, they were still pretty trash. Having already done it once, I knew I could do it again. And so, after quitting again, I went 6 weeks to the day without it. And I told myself after 6 weeks I could smoke again. I did. And I had an amazing experience where I was flooded with clarity, creativity, and motivation towards like the path that I was taking and the goals that I was pursuing. All the things that I loved about smoking. Not just smoking, but cannabis in general. And as you could probably guess, after that great experience, I was right back there again, smoking every day. And again, I was very disappointed in myself, but I was confident that I would figure this out. And I changed my perspective to, I'm going to experiment with this until I figure it out. I wasn't going to just say, you know what, I guess I'm not as strong as weed is. It has too much power over me. I'm just gonna walk away from it and never look back. I didn't want to do that. And what I learned over all this experimenting was that I was wrong in thinking that my relationship with weed was the same as my relationship with nicotine. And I had to be honest with myself, because the truth was that when I quit nicotine, I saw no real value with nicotine in general. I didn't see it as a tool. I was never under the impression that it was helping my focus or anything like that. It was simply just keeping me numb and ashamed of myself, which was why it was so easy to quit it and never look back. But the difference was I actually liked smoking weed, and I found value in the altered state of consciousness that it gifted me when I used it. The main problem was that once I had one good experience with it, my mind would say, well, it just makes sense that we should use this every day since it's so helpful, right? Completely ignoring all of the years of proof that I had that the negatives of daily weed usage vastly outweighed the positives. From the lack of energy to the general brain fog to the lack of motivation to the mood swings I'd get when I couldn't or didn't smoke at the usual time of day that I had started to. So that addicted loop only lasted maybe 2 to 3 weeks, and I finally started to understand how I was going to overcome this loop that I was in. I learned that I kept failing because I had not done the work to instill strict boundaries for myself, and I just had not created any rules around my consumption. I learned that just like quitting nicotine, I had to change on a personality level, and I had to install new subconscious programs that were stronger than the old programs that said, I am a smoker. And this new program said, I am a conscious consumer. I no longer use substances to numb, but to open my mind to other perspectives. And I knew this was possible because I allow myself to drink from time to time, but I don't hold an identity as a drinker. So my mind doesn't start thinking I need a drink every single day after I just drink once and have some fun. So I knew it was possible. I just needed to do the work to rewire my subconscious mind and continue to lean on my nervous system regulation exercises to deal with the stress that life brought, because honestly, there's no getting rid of stress. There's no getting around that. And even though that process was a bit more difficult than just quitting and never looking back, I actually learned that it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game with substances. I actually do have the power to create my reality, like all the gurus were telling me. And I don't have to be scared of a substance just because I don't think I can consume it consciously. And so now that brings me to why I'm here making this video for you today. I took my idea for Shake the Vape and expanded it to what I am now calling Clarity Academy, which is now the service that I always knew I was truly passionate about offering to the world back when I was hiding behind brand design. And if you don't mind, I'd like to quickly just tell you about it. Clarity Academy is the amalgamation of everything I learned on my journey and what I wish I had when I was stuck in my loops for years trying to figure it all out by myself. And that's why Clarity Academy exists. I'm not here to moralize or shame you for where you're at, and especially not here to force you into some rigid idea that true happiness only exists when you're completely sober, because there is value in altered states of consciousness. But what I want to do is give you back what addiction takes from you, which is your agency and your attention, which is what I would argue are two of your most important assets in this life. So in this program and this community that I'm building, we don't treat addiction like it's some character flaw. We're honest about what it truly is, which is a patterned identity loop and a nervous system strategy that you adopted when you were looking to manage the stress that you deal with on a daily basis. Because the problem has never been the substance. The problem has been the stress and pain that we don't know how to deal with. And not to mention how addiction hijacks your mind to think you can't go a day without a substance. So, Clarity Academy is built around one core idea. You don't have to quit forever, but you have to stop being controlled. So inside the Academy, you get to choose your own path that matches the identity you're stepping into. And a lot of the course is the same for both paths, but there are two paths, either quitting and never looking back or conscious use. Both are equally valid. Both are rooted in agency. Both are supported with the same level of care and understanding, but both do require a reset. So that way you can allow your brain and body to return back to homeostasis and work on that addictive loop that you have been just embossing into your mind as a program for so long. And we do that through a framework that I, like I have been telling you, have spent years trying to refine, learning how to combine the science of how addiction is actually working within your mind and body with nervous system regulation tools like meditation, breath work, and exercise, all with a community of people that will hold each other accountable and motivate each other, so that way you no longer have to do this by yourself. I'm going to keep the first group relatively small with a max of just 50 spots. So if you're watching this and you feel the calling, then I promise you there's no better time to turn your life around than right now. So the first 4-week cohort of Clarity Academy opens very soon. It's intimate, it's structured, and it's designed to help you get your agency and attention back for good. If you want to join us, click the link in the description, join the wait list. I will be sending emails and letting you know when we're going to officially start. But if you're not prepared to commit to something like that, because it will be a paid community, I don't believe in gatekeeping information, so I will be putting all of this information on YouTube along with guided breathwork and meditation. So if that interests you, you can subscribe to the channel. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, I appreciate you, and hopefully I'll see you around. Love y'all. Peace.